don't know you anymore. Anakin, you're breaking my heart. You're going down a path I can't follow.
Welcome back to Thinking Critical. This is Wes. I guess there were some rumors not too long ago that maybe Perch and myself were beefing, and that was not the case, but it might have changed recently after a well-timed heel turn by Perch himself. And here to explain himself is Perch. How you doing, Perch?
I hate Arby's.
How can you even say that? Like, do you hate America too? Like, what is going on here?
I'll soften it down. I'll take the drama out of it. I don't like Arby's. I like lots of fast food. Arby's is not for me. The food, I watch a little bit too much of how it's made. I can't do it. And keep in mind, I know fast food's made like garbage everywhere. Like that. This is not where you're going for pristine good food. But I don't know, for whatever reason, Arby's just stuck in my head, and I haven't enjoyed what they put out. So
have you ever tried a Big Montana?
I've not had all their menu. In fairness, see, I disliked it and I just stopped. So I didn't. It's like somebody who says, I don't like Marvel comics. It's like, well, what about these comics? It's like, no. I got off the train some time ago.
And the first time I had a Big Montana, 2 days later, I was still sweating. I was having withdrawals from all the meat. You know what I'm saying?
I do know what you're saying. I think that you're helping my case right there.
That was so delicious. I just wanted more. It was like, it feels like you're against American enterprise. Our biggest export out of America right now is like fast food and obesity. Arby's checks both of those.
But so did like 50 other fast food places.
What, do you turn it on Taco Bell next?
No, Taco Bell. I mean, Taco Bell is what it is. I mean,
oh, that wasn't a compliment. You don't like Taco Bell either?
No, Taco Bell's fine. It's just it's when you're paying fast food Mexican, you're getting fast food Mexican. It's fine. I've had Taco Bell. It's fine.
Yeah, with the Doritos shell.
Well, Taco Bell. I mean, somebody in their place is on crack where they're combining stuff. And by the way, I'll stand on this ground too. When you combine two fast food restaurants together, you get the combo is much worse than the solo. Like you get the Taco Bell Pizza. That's a terrible plan.
I do not like the A&W root beer with the Long John Silvers.
Yes,
it ruins A&W.
Keep them apart. Do not mix the fast foods. Don't cross the streams.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of Long John Silvers. I will admit that one. I think that's like, it's one of those things I remember liking as a kid. Yeah. Then as an adult, once every 3 years you try it and you're like, oh, this is disgusting.
Yeah, I agree. I liked it. There's places you liked as a kid. I mean, who knows? I no longer remember because I'm so fucking old. But I mean, maybe I liked Arby's when I was a kid. I don't know. But you grow up and not for me anymore.
Remember, I love Showbiz Pizza too. But
yeah, I'll admit
it's all Chuck E. Cheese now.
A good part of this is, me trolling to the audience to see who can get baited into arguing about Arby's. But well, it's been surprising. A lot of people have taken that bait.
Absolutely. I was like, was it Bash at the Beach where Hulk Hogan turned his back on the entire wrestling fandom? I was like, oh my, like Perch just drop kicked America. Like, this is worse than Hogan.
I'm amazed at how many people are willing to go to the mat for Arby's. That was a surprise to me.
Well, it's like more betrayal atop of betrayal. I just had Brian Ball dissing biscuits and gravy.
Well, that's insane. Biscuits and gravy.
It's an American institution.
I mean, chicken and waffles, also great.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. It's like biscuits. How can you not like biscuits and gravy? How can you not like Arby's? You remember back in the day when Pizza Hut was a sit-down restaurant and you had like a little arcade in there and stuff?
Yeah, those are great.
Oh, it's so good. You had a little salad bar.
A lot of time in those places. Yeah.
You got the little book it thing when you read enough books at school.
A lot of these fast food places were way better when we were kids. I mean, there was a time when you would go to the McDonald's play area inside McDonald's and it wasn't filled with, homeless people and creepy, pedophiles.
That's because you're on the West Coast. That's why it's like that. But yeah, I just remember like KFC, like bringing home a bucket of chicken was a big deal. And now KFC is disgusting.
Oh, well, now you're the one who's against America.
No, I like Popeyes.
KFC is KFC is pretty disgusting, but still, it's American tradition.
It used to be good. They went down in quality. I think if anything, Arby's has gone up in quality. You
almost,
got
and maybe it did. I mean, in fairness, I walked away from Arby's. I haven't gone back. Maybe I go in there now and there's like tablecloths on the tables and they're serving up just high quality Kobe beef style roast beef. And
well, let's not go too far, but they got a chicken salad sandwich with some walnuts in it and some, I think there's grapes.
All right, so here's the thing that always cracks me up. Like, and the people who really want to defend Arby's are like, no, Arby's is great, the milkshakes. And it's like, okay, but you're not talking about the core product. Like, the chicken sandwich is great. The milkshakes are great. The curly fries are great. I mean, that sounds...
I will go to bat for the roast beef and cheddar. It's great.
Fair enough.
With the Arby's sauce?
You mean the thing where they take the meat and they like dump a bunch of liquid on it so you can't taste the meat anymore?
Listen, that thing is pristinely, it's thin sliced. That's why it's so different to you, because they slice it thinner than other places. That's the only difference.
Yeah. I don't know. It's a funny thing to bring up. It's, I think I did the comic community a huge service because I got us arguing about something completely different in a name. So that's wonderful. I mean, I'm looking for the thank you letter from like Vita Ayala and Danny Lore and some of these people. Dan Slott. I'm waiting for my thank you from Dan Slott. Like, hey, you took a lot of people off my back for a while to complain about Arby's. So thank you.
You think Dan Slott's going to show up in your DMs thanking you for trashing fast food? Get out of here. You're lucky he just jumped in there and put you in your place.
Okay, fair enough. Well, he can't block me twice.
Absolutely. So you mentioned the comic pros. We do have a couple of comic book things to talk about now that we have a little bit more time. I don't want to waste all your time on the grotesque heel turn you pulled on everybody. I could
easily troll people for another 20 minutes on Arby's, but yeah, let's go.
So we've got all these creators not only taking these Substack grants, where we had James Tynan, Scott Snyder, Jonathan Hickman. Who else we have in there? We had Nick Spencer, getting these big deals from Substack. It feels like there are a lot of other creators that are abandoning social media now for this safer confines. At least that's what they believe of, like Substack newsletters. Now, Tynan's been doing his Empire of the Tiny Onion for a while. What is this? Are people just trying to evade the lunacy that's on Twitter? Are they tired of the blowback for the state of comic books? Is it Dan Slott giving the creators a bad name? They're trying to abandon ship?
I don't think it's any of those things. I think it's this idea of like, hey, you mean I could post the same stuff in a newsletter and maybe get paid for it? I think that's what's going on. I think it's this is temporary. I think a lot of people will come back. I think what you'll see is a number of creators go over to Substack, try and get people to, basically on the writing side, Patreon for newsletter content, get a little bit of money, get people subscribed, get that kind of feel to it, build up an audience. I also think there's a little bit of I don't want to be the last one over to Substack. And hopefully all your viewers have signed up for a Substack right now, because you can get your own name. Like if you wanted to be the real Dan Slott.substack.com. Any of you people listening right now could be that right now. I'm not joking actually, but
you can't be Comics by Perch because you're already on Substack.
I'm just Perch. Technically, somebody could go be Comics by Perch and confuse everyone. I mean, you can do that. I mean, please somebody do that, because I don't know what to do with Substack. The thing, there's nothing to do. But I think a lot of these creators are going to go over there. They're going to create a newsletter. They're going to try and charge some money for it. They'll get a little bit of money. In their minds, it's like, hey, I'm getting paid now for what I wasn't getting paid to do on Twitter. That'll be attractive for a little period of time. And then there's going to be this interesting ceiling that gets hit. And I've talked to a couple people.
I call it realization.
Well, yeah, it is. But it's also just tapping out your audience. It's you've gone there, you've got the faithful who followed you over. And now who's going to find you on Substack? Substack's not marketing themselves much. They're certainly not marketing these creators. So you're going to be going back to Twitter to try and get people to go to Substack or wherever. This game is going to occur over the next couple months. I've talked to a couple creators who have Substack and have already mentioned they hit a ceiling. And they got a ton of people.
People do not go to Substack looking for information on creators.
Sure. No.
They go to Google, which will bring you up their Twitter handle and maybe, a couple of bios or whatever, maybe the DC official page of whatever they're doing. But if you want current information, you got to be out on social media.
Right. And it's not like the comic books are going to start publishing the Substack address in the comic to help direct people there. So you're going to have to find a way to get people there. And Substack's not known by anywhere close to enough people. So if you're James Tynion, you're going to have to figure out how to get more people over to your Substack. And
well, you also have the problem with all of James Tynan's friends saying that it's like an alt-right cesspool.
Well, they did. I mean, I think that's, I don't want to say dying. I mean, some people are still trying that, but that hasn't caught. I know there's been a lot of videos, a lot of comments about that, but it's not catching on. You've got Stephanie Phillips is over there now. I mean, you can't.
Sophie Cable went over there.
Yeah. That's not fitting. So, Teenie Howard's over there. I mean, Al Ewing's over there. You can, make those claims, but ultimately you sound like a lunatic doing it. It doesn't stick. And I do think for a lot of people, it was going into the bag of tricks and be like, hey, I know how to smear some people I don't like. I'll toss this label on them. And it just, in this case, it's like, yeah, it's not going to work.
Man, I'll say this. For a bunch of socialists, they want to charge stuff that they were giving away for free before. Feels like Twitter would be more like in their wheelhouse.
Well, I mean, we're in for some changes. I mean, in general, I think a lot of people are looking at Twitter going, what's the value I'm getting out of this? It increases the amount of time. There's been studies now show that have been widely publicized that show that, you increase your time on Twitter month after month without you really realizing it. So it takes more and more up of your life.
It's addictive.
Yeah, it's addictive. You've got to feed it. And what value are you getting out of it? No pay. I mean, you're paying Twitter. Twitter's making money off of you, but what are you making?
Well, they're stealing your data and they're giving it to people. So when you go online, you get the right, commercials ads. So you can go in there and buy that thing you never needed in the first place.
That's true. So there's a net benefit, but I think I would predict it's somewhere around a 6-month cycle where in about 6 months, you're going to see a lot of these people who made big noise about going over to Substack kind of wandering back. In many cases, that addiction of being able to post a hot take and get a bunch of likes and gratification off of it, that doesn't really exist on Substack. You can like and heart things that you post, but it's not the same feeling. And you can get comments and everything else. I think for some creators, and good for them, there will be some that are like, this is way healthier for me. And that's awesome. I think those people have found their way and they should just continue, but others will come back.
Well, how are you supposed to, support people in their time of need if you're not on Twitter? So, get out there and get your virtual signal on.
Yeah,
virtue.
Yeah.
So we'll see how it goes. I imagine they're going to come back because it almost feels like in order to have Substack and continue growth, you have to be working and hustling on social media to let people know that you're on Substack.
Yeah, well, you have to hustle somewhere. I mean, where, somewhere there's got to be some marketing.
YouTube, Facebook, somewhere.
Yeah, it's not going to work to just go over there. Unless, again, you're one of those rare people who just likes the sanity, has a curated audience, is happy with whatever money you're getting. And it's you're not looking for more and you're not addicted to the drama. I mean, I think we'll see in about a year's time who the healthy people are.
Yeah, Substack could be like the Montana of social media.
There you go.
You go up there, you isolate yourself, you write your, what is it? What did the Unabomber write? His manifesto? And charge people for
some Western novelist, but sure, the Unabomber, yeah. It's like Detox, or maybe not. I don't know. Substack is the Eddie Ford Clinic of comics.
That's not the only thing that we've seen kind of going on. We've seen a kind of a gutting of the DC Comics editorial staff.
Yeah.
Then we saw like Jamie Rich voluntarily leave. We've seen some executives leave. And then this week we got another Black Label editor exited the building voluntarily. These people aren't getting fired. Are they abandoning ship? Are they seeing better opportunities? Is DC actually decreasing the pay of their editorial staff, which seems like it would be shocking? What's going on there? It feels like, the good creators have left after they fired all these support people and executives, and now the support people and execs are leaving too.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of these people have announced other gigs, and presumably, I haven't seen their contracts. Of course, they're getting paid more in these other gigs. So I think in many cases, the people who are leaving now, they're doing it for money. But it's one of those things that kind of feeds itself. So you get rid of a bunch of people in your company, and you're now operating. People are having to work longer hours. It's harder. It's more chaotic. They're not getting calls back. Editorial took the brunt of that. We saw a number of creators leave and say that they weren't getting communication anymore. And there was kind of this, why isn't editorial doing more of their job? Well, editorial was already cut, but now they're also getting blamed. And I mean, and again, in some cases, rightly so, you should call people back and manage that part of the business. But when you're short staffed and you're taking this heat and you have another company outside saying, we'll pay you, more and take you out of this chaos. I mean, I've heard anecdotally of DC editors, having to manage, anywhere from 12 to 18 books. That's a lot. I mean, that's more than is reasonable for you to do a good job. I think things are going to fall through the cracks, and it's going to suck. And if you're not getting paid, maybe what you're worth or maybe what you'd like, and you're doing that job, and you've got kind of creators leaving and creating more noise for you, so you have to go out and find other people, then it's a cycle that just feeds itself. Unfortunately, with editorial leaving, what this means is communication's likely going to go down again. Books are going to get, editors are going to pick up the ones that are left, more books, and this cycle is just going to continue. I mean, there has to be some insertion of a lot of talent. There has to be a change in the model. If they don't do that, I think this just spirals. But meanwhile, at the same time, how many books are DC? 76 books in September.
It's nuts. It actually kind of feels like DC's at risk right now, because we know that they're going to be moving over part of the merger with Discovery. It's not like they can probably start handing out extra money here and there. We did see Daniel St. Pierre get an exclusive, but it's not like they're going to be able to beef up their compensation packages while you have Tapas, Webtoon, and other people moving into the U.S. market because they see all this growth, and they're going to be able to poach off the people they want. Yeah,
I mean, it's a bad cycle. I mean, I don't. The baffling part of all this is just the volume. That's what I keep coming back to. They're doing more books than Marvel in September. That trend continues across October and November. DC publishing more books than ever with a smaller editorial staff than ever is a bizarre recipe. I mean, that's a very confusing mix. Why are they doing that? I mean, I think they're trying to grab some share. I think they're trying to boost up their numbers. I mean, I think that's what they're doing. But unfortunately, it's not sustainable to have that many comics with this few amount of people, with a lot of talent that may be new to the company, that they're maybe they worked in other comics, but they're new to DC. I mean, this is a lot of risk for them to be putting out. And in many ways, what they should be doing is what Jim Lee and Daniel Cherry said they were doing, which was focus on fewer titles with higher quality. Get those books done well and done right and stabilize the ship. But they're doing the opposite of that.
And in my personal opinion, as a customer, I'm seeing the effects. There aren't very many good DC comics right now that I enjoy reading. There's like Robin and a couple of Black Label books, but for the most part, there's nothing that really stands out as really good. There's some okay stuff or some stuff that hits here and there, maybe a miniseries, but like most of their ongoings are really forgettable right now, if not outright offensive.
I mean, everything, of course, is personal taste. I'm not finding as many terrible books. I'm just finding a lot of kind of what you said, forgettable books. Like the books feel like they're waiting for something. They feel like they're they feel like the comics in the 80s that were filler books, where you had an event and then you needed a month breather to get to the next big storyline, or maybe you're giving Jim Lee a break, so you've got this one kind of middle index issue or that kind of thing. That's what this feels like. It feels like a lot of stuff's just treading water, and combined with a sense that everything is going in different directions. I mean, I defy anyone to try and figure out what exactly Superman is doing in any given month. He's off on multiple different fronts simultaneously. Same thing with Batman. It's a very strange place they put themselves in. And I mean, in theory, maybe this stabilize. Maybe they do a big crisis event in the beginning of 2022, which they're saying they're going to do, which means more books and more tie-ins. So I just, I don't see how they're pulling it off, and they should be worried that people are leaving.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think it's a lot of the variant kind of schemes. It seems like they're doing more of the Marvel things to perch up the numbers outside of the really, their tentpole books. Obviously, Batman is doing very well, but not a lot of other titles are right now. But I don't know, it's pretty crazy. It doesn't look great for DC Comics. Maybe there are some viewers out there that think DC Comics is better than ever. I personally would disagree with them, and I think a vast majority of the viewers would as well.
Yeah, I think it looks shaky. I mean, I'm sure there's some titles out there people are enjoying. One thing almost everyone I talk to has at least one DC book they do legitimately like right now. There are a lot of different books, which is
Robin is great.
Yeah. So there's everybody has kind of some different favorites they're really enjoying right now. And that's interesting. Maybe they can build off that. But it's hard not to see a overall picture of some chaos here. And I think here's a crazy part. I think it's all avoidable. I think this is kind of classic self-inflicted error at this point.
Yeah, it feels like they don't know where they want to go. They just want to go somewhere. Yeah.
And I mean, it can be a regrowing time. I was about to say rebirth, but that's been taken. But it could be a time of kind of, resetting and adjusting and looking and it's not always terrible to throw a bunch of stuff at the wall, see what sticks, if you have a plan for what to do with the stuff that sticks. So maybe, everybody, it's funny. Sometimes those people say, you're being too negative. And sometimes they'll say I'm being too optimistic. Here we'll give people both things to say. It seems chaotic. Maybe there's some amazing plan that comes out in 2022 and it all makes sense and it comes together and we're all like, oh, okay, this is what they were doing. Yeah, I hope so. But odds are against it with that short of staff.
Yeah, it seems like hopefully there's some method to the madness, but DC kind of looks in a weird spot, with we do know that they had to move. They lost so many people. People are kind of leaving, and they're definitely in a transition period. So I do want to say thank you to Perch for coming on here, talking about the enormous heel turn. You basically crapped. Did you crap on America, or was it just Montana?
I'm amazed how many people are that horny for Arby's.
It's because you haven't tasted it in a while, my good friend. And then obviously we did talk about the mass exodus to Substack. I have a feeling that they'll have to come back.
Yeah, absolutely.